have few links I'd like to share with you. These are all the links. This particular var file which I created a Java web app, so that various web services already been written inside, so you can use it. But before that, you should have your Tomcat running. So let me run my Tomcat or the server. I don't know which version I have. Anyway, try. Should be. Okay, you should go to the bin directory. You should see various executables. In this case, to start your Tomcat, find your Tomcat installation folder. There you will find this kind of thing, and the command line code. I hope the CD and all the stuff you already know about it. We don't need to see that in much detail. So it slightly varies in Linux-based one and of course Windows-based one. So let me start. So my Tomcat started, I hope. So I have my Tomcat up and running at this point. So it's a Tomcat 7, but very limited changes would be there. So to install this var file is nothing but a kind of a compressed file, a zip file, which I compress all my classes, JSPs and everything. I compressed everything, so you can install it in through the manager app itself instead of manually copy pasting, configuring everything. So click on the manager app. It would ask a password to start with. If you haven't set it, what you can do, you can download the second URL which I have showing on screen, the tomcat-users.xml. This one, for example, I'll show you. This I have already preset a username, manager username admin. So you have to simply copy paste this file into your Tomcat installation folder. In my case, I'll show you where it is. So this is where I have my Tomcat, and that is a folder called configuration. There is a file called tomcat-users. Initially, the manager URL or manager access wouldn't have been added. So what you can do, simply download this file and replace it. Then you can access the manager app using the username and password admin. That's it. So you will be easily getting this screen. If you notice, I have already deployed my the var one for your understanding. Okay, it's in a different language. One of my Spanish client, so I think that for that point of time just changed it to Spanish. I don't know what to change it. Want to check whether I have my internet access. So this is really bad. So I don't have internet access, but so that's why I couldn't translate. Let me. Sorry, this one. Don't have access. Connected. Okay, I think it's undeployed now. So all you need to deploy it this particular var file, I will be simply going there and downloading this file. It's a pretty small one. Get connected to my internet. Now it works. Okay, so it will download. So this downloaded file, I'm going to right now I have it my somewhere in the download folder. Okay. So just go here. Now I can translate. Okay, just translate. So select var file to upload. There is an option. Choose it and find. Okay, this is where I already have it here. Anyway, this I'm going to pick it and click deploy. So you'll have this particular this app called DevBank installed in your Tomcat. So now you can access that. I've added a couple of web service for emulation purpose. For example, find location.jsp. You see this, there is already a copy pasted web service available, which we wrote an example yesterday, which we access it through Google Web Service. So this I just simply copy pasted one, so you can test it at least. So all you need to copy this link in your Android Studio. So this is the real URL. I don't think I'll comment it. Unfortunately, I cannot send any data to this, but only at least for a verification purpose whether this part works. So what I can do to this, the localhost, instead of localhost you can put the IP range 0.10.2.2, which is especially good if you have your emulator on PC alone in a network. But if your PC is part of a LAN which is having a different IP, domain, maybe matching, colliding with the same mask, you can check your computer PC IP address and replace with the exact IP address of your PC, so that it will point to your computer and get the response from the Tomcat or whatever server environment installed. So you can pick the data from there and will populate the result. In fact, these two data will not go to that because it is only for emulation or maybe for a testing purpose I have added here. Live version is also there, one for testing purpose. Those who could access internet, they can use this link, but in fact they don't need to use since they have a web service already. So this will also work. Those who could access internet, they can use this link. I have a Tomcat which is running in my server as well. Okay, now we have the code modified. I have to test. No idea. I think load image should work. Okay. Now I'm going to get example, get result. If you notice, I'm getting the result, but this is a different data as expected because it's a different JSON response which is giving. So those who want to test the last example and you still don't have internet access, you can use this trick. You can download the var file from here and deploy it in your Tomcat and start using those services. And next one, I'm going to explain what I call HTTP post. So the same technique, but this time the data sending and receiving is going to be through HTTP post. That I already added a sample request response inside this var file. So for testing, the get is also supported. Mean I can test it in such a way. Okay, I simply have a small validation form, login validation. Just remember, just check login. Yeah. So check login dot htm, not l. Question mark username equal to admin and separated by ampersand symbol, password equal to password. If you call this URL, you will get a web service response, uh, having some sort of like status okay, result, and bunch of things like first name, last name, age 25. Only when you supply the username password as admin and password, it will work. If you send some other username or some other password, it will throw you failed. So it is actually validating in the server side. When you send the exact username and password, this particular part will work. So this has already been added in this devbank.war file, and you can emulate this test. So I'm going to use this. This also support post also. Mean you can send the data. You do not only can send the data like this way. You can also send the data through post, which is hidden, which you cannot test it at this point because only when you write the application you will get it. But the sample request response will be coming like this. If you notice, whenever you receive a response, it is advisable to check how the particular pattern has come, the result type. If you notice, the status OK and comma, and there is a result and another JSON object is being coming, and inside the JSON object there are a couple of strings are there, and there is one more object called address. There is an object, array called phone number. Each array item contains an object, just goes on. So this tree you need to understand properly, and this is how your documentation would be given to you as a client level developer, where you write apps for your enterprise application. Your development team or the people who working on the server side, they will share you a document, a web service document, a RESTful web service document. These URLs, they'll give you a bunch of URLs for you. For everything, they'll give you a list of URLs, and they'll also tell what is the input you need to send, what is the output you will get. Some sample they'll give, like what I'm doing here. So in my case, the input is admin and password, having the username and password as a key. I'll share this thing. If you send in this way only, you will get the result. Otherwise, you won't get the result. So this is the bunch of document they will give you. Having that as a reference, you should start writing your application. So anyway, we have a case study in that. I'll give you a document. So a standard practice of how things will land here. But as we understand, so take it, assume it, you have a URL which gives you a web service response and which accepts a post request type. So we are going to do that. I would advise you just bookmark or probably download these files. Maybe I'll leave it throughout while I explain it. If you do not have Tomcat at all, you can still download a new version of Tomcat through this link. This also I have added, and I made it as a jar file so that you can easily download, so your proxy would not prevent it. So if you want all these things, you can download it. Anyway, I am going to put that in the website itself, so you can get those links and you can download later point of time. So hopefully you deploy this in your Tomcat and emulate these results. Now we are going to test in this way because this is a customized one. This app is going to validate the username password in the server side and send you the success or failure message to your app. So we are going to build it. Before that, how I can consume it, so that's a major point we have to understand. So as of now, I understand, as my document tells, the key, the form name is username, the form another form name is password, and which carries the same value admin and password. Anything goes different, it throws an error. It doesn't give you a response. I put it in a get way also because for testing purpose, but I'm not sure it should work on the post also, but let us check. Anyway, we're going to see the HTTP post now. So let me go ahead and create a directory. I hope it is not needed at this point. So we'll write a simple example on HTTP. Okay. This hierarchical parent thing I am not setting at all. I am pretty interested in giving the back button manually through an action bar. So the same procedure. Uh, I hope I can copy paste everything from here. Load get button click. Oh, a couple of things I need to rename. So let me go back to strings. Okay, it's already there. Okay. What's the menu? HTTP post. I'll rename them if it, for better understanding. This is fine. Okay, time being we'll have this one set to visible, list view set to invisible. First we will test whether the result is coming or not, then we'll think about whether it could be displayed. In fact, I cannot display in a list view because the sample response which I'm going to get doesn't look like a list form, it is a personalized data. So I managed to display somewhere in my edit text or probably some other text boxes. But let us first retrieve everything, then decide about how to get them, how to display them. Maybe I'll get rid of this list view totally, don't want. You're below, okay, looks fine. This button I am planning to modify. I'm going to write a method. These two activities, so I'm going to link it in from main activity. So when the user click on this link, he'll come back to this or come to this activity. Okay, so we are all set. Before we'll test everything, then move on. So I am going to get this part working and post is ready. Okay, I'm sorry, I haven't added the back button. So, okay. So clicking this button is going to call the web service and load the data here. We have a edit text here. Never mind, we'll just want to see whether I receive the response. Later we'll remove it and put the appropriate boxes or maybe edit text to display my data. First thing, I don't need any menus. Let me override, get the access to action bar. Set display as home button, enable set to true, and this will put a back button and you can capture the sequence, the button events. Finish. Okay. That's actually not required, the finish itself will kill it. Okay, we need a block which handle the web service part. I could still copy paste it, but for your reference I want to do it again so that you will again see like how we could write the AsyncTask part to handle the web service. Something extends AsyncTask. We are expecting 3 different types. Being is a JSON based web service. Both are going to be string, the URL and the response. I'm not going to put any progress update, so that I just kept it just void itself. Pre-execute if it required, but having that as a reference would help us on post-execute. So when at this point you'll have the result. Make it as a result. Yes, doesn't stand but. So as we know, this particular string, this string denotes the return data type, this one and this one, and of course, this string is a URL and another string is the return data type. But anyway, both are strings, so we don't need to worry about that. Now start writing the HTTP post part. It's almost same like last one, but only few additions so that the data is not actually going to be sent in the URL itself. The data has to be packed and made it as a form based one, and then it has to be dispatched to the URL. So let us first start get access to HTTP client. Default HTTP client. This time HTTP post. Okay, URL or URL. I tested the URL string also works yesterday. Yesterday I was considering the URI alone works, but it works with the string as well. So let me string get the URL. String builder to get and append all the data coming from a stream. This time we are making sure it is properly initialized. The reason for the yesterday's delay. Okay, the URL could be this one. So at this point HTTP post is built for us. Now the URL is going to be a plain URL. Now we need to send the data to a remote server. So how I am going to send the data? The data is being packed as a array list. because there's going to be more than one data possible. The array list is going to contain an object called NameValuePair. NameValuePair means you create an object. It's similar to content values or similar to bundle. It's a bundler. So it is going to carry a name and the associated value. So this array list first we have to build. Now add a NameValuePair object. Every set require a NameValuePair object. This NameValuePair could be a new basic value pair which is already built in, so which accept two parameters. One is key, another one is a value or name. Sorry, key being a name. So in this case, I'll have to slightly investigate what kind of a data in which format I need to send. If you notice the previous part which I was talking about, I need to send a username and password, then only the response will come. In this case, the name, this key, I mean this is the key, username and password. So this is the one I need to put in name, and another name value pair. Password. Not to get confused with the get, I'm capturing everything from get, but this is a specific or specialized URL which supports both the parameters, both the protocols, but in real case it may not be. So a form name, username and password going to carry the value. In this case the value should be admin and the password should also be password. If these two data are going to be attached to a HTTP POST protocol, it will carry them through the header itself, and it won't be display that in the URL at all, and it will be safely sent to a server, and server can capture it and do the processing. So up to this point it's pretty simple. Now I'm going to attach it to HTTP post, HTTP post set entity. These are all the additional part, because the last time we don't need to worry about it because it was just HTTP get. So it requires a new entity. This entity name URL encoded form entity, because you are virtually creating a form and form data you are sending. So that entity name is URL encoded form entity, and of course you have a name value pairs ready for you to take it. Okay, sort of exception, the suggestion. Sometime Android Studio is not something so clever to predict and give me an idea. So it takes a lot of time to give me a suggestion on try catch. So unsupported encoding option exception. Sometime you may malfunction or do something, a special character may come and so that time the form entity built up may not work, so it will throw an exception if required. Okay. Now you have a HTTP post. Now we are going to expect the response from the server. So the same stuff like from the previous code, HTTP response, and HTTP client is going to execute your HTTP post. Again, some sort of it also triggers a exception. Now I'm going to add catch clause so that it will be automatically integrated with the existing try catch block. Otherwise a try catch block inside a try catch block will come. So now it will execute. Now we have a HTTP response ready, and now we need to buffer it and read it. So buffered reader, hope it will give you a suggestion properly this time. Reader new input stream reader, and input stream can be captured using the HTTP response get entity get content. And if you really want to specify the character set, you can define the UTF-8. And if you want to tell the buffer size, the maximum allowed buffer typically 1024 into 2 MB. So I mean, this is where Android performs really good. Anything goes beyond doesn't. It's not even professional at all. So a buffer is ready, and it will read all the input stream coming from the response, and it will be having it in a buffered memory, mean a temporary memory. Now I need to open it and read everything line by line and append to a string builder. A empty string called line. Going to put a while block. While line equal to buffer reader read line when it is not null, anything. Sorry, here I think I forgot one. Sorry, this is just one. Okay. So this is one single line. It will read it. If this line is not null, mean there is a value. So till the time that line is not null, this block will run, and we are going to append the string builder append the line. Subsequently, add a new line character. So at this point, the string builder will iterate over the buffer and have every other information extracted and stored in the string builder itself. So now the string builder is done. Now I can return the string builder to string. It requires a string actually. So convert the string builder back to a string, and you have a fully qualified string which contains all the data. So the difference comes here is creating a name value pair object. A name value pair builds your key and value parameters. Mean you can add the payload in the HTTP post header itself, and it requires a key, or otherwise a form name, the input field name and the value. An input field name and the value has to be associated, and it has to be encoded as a form and attached to HTTP post as an entity, and this is executed through HTTP client, and you will get HTTP response. Of course, this is where the time taking process. At this point, the server has to wait until the response comes, and when the response is ready, the buffer part. This is also slightly time taking process, but may not be that much time. It depends on the data, and buffer gets the data, read all the stream and keep it in a buffer memory, and from the buffer we are reading line by line, append everything to a string builder, and we have the data ready at this point. So this is what the HTTP post. I haven't tested this URL. In fact, I just wrote it by morning, so we need to see whether it does really fetches a response or not. I haven't added the progress dialog anything, but I really want to test it. So this way we are going to display the incoming result for our testing purpose. This time the URL so in my PC resolves to this IP address. All you need to send the URL alone, no data, because we are going to send the data through HTTP post. So just a URL is enough, and the data being sent here. So assuming when AsyncTask is executed, it will do this thing in background and it will have the string ready, result ready. Now we have to see whether if we could print it in the edit text. As soon as results available. Let me test it. I'm going to HTTP post API. Okay, we got it. Notice we got the response. In fact, it comes pretty quickly because it is accessing the local server itself. We get the status OK because I've sent the right username password, and it gives me a bunch of detail of the particular user. Maybe it is coming from a database or anywhere, I don't know, because I just encapsulated everything and gave you a WAR file alone. How I'm working, I should not disclose. But the response looks like a JSON response, and of course it carries a flag of your success or failure message always on the top. The rest of the information follows. This is to prevent any misuse of object extraction if such object never exists. You notice I'm going to simply change the username or password into something else. I put a wrong password here. For better usage, we could have put a edit text here asking the user to enter the username password in the app itself so that we could get different response. But anyway, this is to test how the HTTP post goes on. Later we may add that. If you see this, the status flag now returns failed and doesn't have any other data. So it is always recommended to check a status first. Based on the OK or failed, we'll extract the rest of the information. So with the status failed comes on, I won't check because there's not going to be any data. So this particular response only gives a server only gives a response when a username password matches with the same one entered in the database or any other thing in the server side. Let me extract them, display in the UI wherever necessary. Before that, I'll just go through it. So it has a first name, last name, age, address parameters. Address in turn contains street address, city, state, postal code, and it has a phone number, home. There are two type of phones, one being home phone, another being fax. These information I need to display in the UI. So now let us modify our UI first. So how many edit texts it may require? This one I am not going to display. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 sets. 8, 9, something like 8, 9. Okay. So let me see if I can display everything. To make it simple, I'll do one thing. Post example. Okay. This one I'm going to set it hidden now because we are done with the test. This is a relative layout, pretty headache one. I'll add a scroll view. Because there's going to be a bunch of edit text going to come, which may exceed the size of your screen. It's going to be exactly below the same. Inside the scroll view, linear layout. Scroll view accept only one layout as a child. So in this case, a linear layout is a child. Linear layout can have a multiple one. Orientation. Vertical. I'm not going to do much of a design here, so okay, for time being I'll hard code it. Later I'll move everything to string file. But there should be some sort of utility. What else we have? Age address. Sorry. Address is actually split into street address, city, state, something. So let me split that as well. Street, city. State, postal code. And phone number. There is two type of phone number. Okay. These data are going to be fetched directly from the server, so editable I can set to false so that the user cannot edit at all. Deprecated. Okay. For that, what's instead? Use input type. Okay. type I need to set none. Okay, that I don't know. Let's see. There is a programmatic way also we can disable so that the user won't touch it and data will be loaded directly from the web service. So these are all things added. Let us see how things looks on here. Okay, not bad. My screen is pretty big, so hopefully everything it will accommodate. No scroll will come. If you are testing on a low small screen phone, automatically a scroll bar will come here so that we can see all the details. So been written. Let's move on to runtime, and first we have to initialize the bunch of things. Copy paste. First name, last name, age, what else? Street address. Street address. City, I think. State. Postal code. And home phone. Okay. Okay. One more thing we forgot. Actually, it's all going to require a global access. Okay. So initialize everything. It's ready, set to go. Now it is going to call this one, and I have a response here. So at this point, we are no more using the edit text. I think the edit text itself have been removed, so we have to remove that. Okay, so now let's do. Now we need to parse the incoming JSON. So the JSON has come. Now we need to parse it. So again, for reference, I'm just having a final look at this. If at all, the first part need to be checked, and in this point the status flag has to be checked, which is a JSON object. Inside the JSON object there is a string called JSON exist. So the whole JSON object first has to be captured. JSON object, first create the JSON object from the incoming result. this exception blocks will come. Let me find out. From the JSON object, we are going to check status. Sorry. Get string called the one is exactly it is having the key as a status. So if status equals okay, you can go ahead and extract other information. Otherwise, you can put a toast. Any other status comes mean naturally the login has failed. So now we can retrieve all the information. So in this, if the status is okay, I may expect another object called result, which carries on another JSON object. So retrieve that first. Okay, already present, right? So JSON object. So inside the JSON object, there is an object called result, and we have captured everything. So in this, there is a user first name, last name stuffs are there. So let me get. Let me start capturing them. So first name. Set text. From the result object, get string called first name. Am I right? Oh, it's uppercase, first name, last name. First we'll test it, first and last name. If it all comes, mean you can retrieve the rest. Okay. Admin password is the right username password. So we are going to test it. If it could retrieve only the first name, last name, everything would be fine. Or if anything goes wrong, we'll do the debug. Okay, we got it. So the first name and the last name has landed here. So we'll retrieve all the other thing, and we'll retrieve all the data from the web service and display in our app the same way. So now you would have understood the reason of spending time here to understand the flow, I mean the particular node or maybe the JSON object representation. So that's the reason I gave it as a separate URL. You can test it in your local machine itself. So first name, last name, age. So age is not a problem. Maybe the address is going to give us some trouble. The same way. Now we need to get the address. Address in turn and another object. Inside there is a couple of strings. So I need to first retrieve the address object. So JSON object From the result object, get a JSON object called address. I want to see this. It's called address. Now we have an address object, and of course the street name and all the stuff we can go ahead and street. So next, from the address object, get string. What's that? Street name or what? Street address. Same. So similarly, we are going to do everything. Sorry. Street, city, state, another one what? Postal code. It's the same. We try them. Now we are done with the street, but again another one. Phone number. If you notice this JSON, phone number carries an array because of square box. So inside the array there are two phone numbers are there. Okay. Let us retrieve the array called phone number. So JSON array. This is actually present in the result object. Get JSON array, put the phone number. Now you have an array. So from this we are very clear that the array contains only two values. So I don't want to put a for loop at all. I am directly going to extract them. So okay. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll put a for loop because that will give us a clear idea. The for loop can also be used at least. For loop. Now we need to get a type first from the phone array. Okay, first thing I want to see what is that. Type home and fax. Okay. From the JSON array, get a JSON object from get a string called type. If type equals home, what you are going to put? Home set text. Phone array get JSON object of the particular index in that gets. Okay, I think a string I'm redundantly using. If you notice, age is actually an integer. Okay, we'll see that because there is no within quotation. If you notice, so for age I should use get int. So other these people are only string only, so we don't have a problem. It's actually called number. Okay, another one. If type equals fax. You're all set. This is especially for array age. I could use get int fact, but we are setting it to edit text, so make sure the integer is again converted back to a string. Otherwise, it will start searching in the resource folder r.string any ID present or something, so it may mismatch. But otherwise, all fine. So we have a result object. Inside result object, three strings. Two string and one integer, first name, last name, and age. And subsequently, there is another object exists that is called address. Inside the JSON object, other four relevant information such as street address, city, state, postal code present. And there is a phone number array present in the same results object, and we retrieve them and check the type, and each time when it iterates over based on the type, we are setting the edit text to the setting the value to an edit text based on the records the particular index is given. Sorry, this is also number. See that both are number only. Okay, this one. We got all the information. So actually, it's better to put some sort of text view there. So I really don't know what are all these things, but for testing purpose, we simply put all edit text. We could have put a name text view, first name, last name text views. But anyway, so as far as this particular example, retrieve the first name, last name, age, the street, address, city, state, postal code, and the phone number and the fax number. We could have further beautified with inserting a text view in between, but our main requirement was to consume the web service and retrieve all the data what your web service is giving and display in your app. So it does that particular job. So this is HTTP post. HTTP post, the data is not sent in the URL itself. The data is actually sent as a form, URL, or what you call URL encoded form entity. It's a form actually. So the data is added to the header, not visible in the URL, and data is reaching to the server, and server validates it and gives you a different response based on the username password. For testing, I'm going to put some different username, whether I am getting a response or not. You find it. So if I call it login failed because the username password which you sent does not match with the one which is there in the server. So the server did not send you any results. So we found it using the status flag, which is nothing but a string. Gives you on the top status of your result. Based on that, we further iterate it. Otherwise, we get something else. We are saying failed. So this will only work if we have admin set like this. Those who have internet access, they can use a live URL. They don't need to do the Tomcat part. Just replace with the URL. It will still work. Those who can access internet without any restriction, they can use this link and get the response. will take time because it has to connect to an internet. I don't know whether my device still has internet or not. Let me see. Yeah, my phone does not have internet. Okay, so if you could access it will work. So just I leave the URL here for your reference. Others who yet to get in, who don't get internet access, they have to download the WAR file, deploy it in your Tomcat, and put this URL IP address of your device or your PC, then access it and check your web service response. Subsequently, you can add the progress dialog here, which I haven't added in this example. You can add it and display the loading screen as long as the data is retrieved. So I leave everything here. See if my internet is ready. Okay, now internet is accessible, I hope. Okay, so now it should work. Okay, now it is coming. So live URL is also there. That is there in the devsonline.in 8080 and the same set. Uh, for others, you have to download the WAR file, deploy it in your Tomcat. From there, you consume the web service. So in both the case, you have to complete this example. And I have a small addition to this. Maybe I'll add a GPS part to get the dynamic response based on the user location, and later uh, one more small adjustment. So instead of form, can I send a RESTful response like a JSON object itself? Can it be sent as a input payload? So these are all the things. Probably I'll do it tomorrow, and Monday onwards, we need to take everything and integrate it to our SMS replier, because SMS replier only one part where it need help is showing the current location of the user. But at least this small detour helped us to understand how the web service part works. And additional part, setting up your Tomcat, setting a Java home parameters is all just you should have understood.